Hello, Scion here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing another comic book review. Today we're going to be looking at Barbarella. We're going to be looking at the 10 issue series by Sarah Hoyt called Woman Untamed, I think. It has art by Madibek Musabekov, and I think Ivan Nunez does the coloring, and this trio of people do a great job writing and drawing and coloring in this story, because it's probably one of my favorite comic series that I picked up from Dynamite in a while. It's definitely better than just about everything else that I've picked up from Dynamite, I think. And it's quite good. The demographic here is teen plus, so 16 years and older, because Barbarella is kind of a risque character. It doesn't really get risque at all very much, but it is still there, so it should be for older teenagers, right? And the genres here are sci-fi, space opera, and pulp science fiction. What's the difference between science fiction and pulp science fiction? I don't think there really is that much of a difference, but it's the way that, like, Star Wars is different from Star Trek, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I kind of think of it. I do think Star Wars is more on the pulp side of science fiction, kind of sci-fantasy, than something like Star Trek, right? So it is kind of in the realm of Star Wars and Buck Rogers and what's it called? Flash Gordon and some other stuff. Cobra, if you guys have ever read that manga, I did a review for it, so you guys can check that out. And stuff like that, right? So yeah, adaptations-wise, this does not have an adaptation, but the Barbarella character has had a few movies. Barbarella was actually from a French comic creator, I think, and I think it was from the 70s. At some point, it got popular enough for American audiences to know about her, and then I'm pretty sure there was a Western, like an American movie made for her, but I'm not actually sure if it was American or not. It might have been a French movie. And you can buy the French, like the original French comic books, but I don't think they're in English. You can buy them on Amazon, but I'm not sure that they're in English. And eventually, through a long process, Dynamite managed to get access to writing Barbarella, and so they did. And this is what came out of it. So yeah, the premise of this story of Woman Untamed is that Barbarella has recently gotten herself a pet, I guess. It's this little white fox thing called Vix. And her and this little pet Vix join forces with a freedom fighting organization who send her out on missions. And as she's going on through these different missions, she starts to unravel this plot against her specifically. So this causes a lot of trouble for her and for the freedom fighting organization she's with. And, well, it turns into a pretty cool adventure story. So it's pretty interesting. I quite enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, the plot line here is pretty simple. There's not really too much going on. I mean, you can't really get too much done in whatever 10 issues is. I guess that's like 200 pages. Yeah, so there really isn't too much going on. But yeah, so the first little bit here is a quick introduction to the character. She joins this brotherhood. She meets Talon, which is a he's an AI with a tactile holographic projection, and he's tied to her ship and also to Vix through this little like dog collar that has a special gem on it that allows for Talon to exist in the real world as long as Vix is near Barbarella. Talon happens to look like an angel, as in a hot dude with wings, and he actually becomes Barbarella's romantic interest for the duration of the story. And they're doing this. They realize that there's this hidden plot. They go off to Camelot, which is a place. It's a planet, to free people from this enslavement that they've kind of found themselves under through the use of nanites. Then they figure out where the nanites come from, and so they happen to go to this other planet called Encantado, and then they kind of lead a slave revolt there, and then they end up battling an assassin. They move on to another planet called Automata, and well, they have to deal with some automatons, obviously. There's a lot of exposition that happens in this part of the story. That's really, really interesting, actually. A lot of it has to do with why Barbarella is the way she is, and how this causes people to want to be like her, specifically how this leads to jealousy of Barbarella, which in turn has to do with the assassination plot that she had to deal with, and with the things that are happening that are affecting the brotherhood she's working with. So, we kind of get all of this, and then we take a break to have a little bit of an origin story for Vix after we get this big exposition dump in this planet called Rio, which is a kind of a pleasure planet, and then this origin story about Vix has to deal with the little species, the species of this little guy, and why he is the way he is, and what it affects, kind of the universe, in what ways it affects the universe. And it's kind of crazy. I don't really want to give too much away from that, because I think it's kind of interesting to learn on your own. And then you come back to issue 7 to continue on with the story, where we start with Barbarella crashing into a planet, waking up in a cage on this planet called Bibliaoken, or something like that. And she eventually manages to escape. She finds and then befriends this weird dinosaur dragon thing, and then tries to escape once again. She barely manages to do so, and ends up having to hide. She ends up having to hide, and then she finally manages to escape properly, and they end up in a hidden world captured by the lady. And the lady is the leader of this multi-planet empire thing, but also the reason why Barbarella has been targeted this whole series, right? And then, well, they have the big encounter of the story, the big climax of the story, and it ends with some scrapes, but also ready for the next adventure, because that's how pulp heroes work. And it was pretty good. I had a lot of fun reading this story. I had a great time with it. It's still not as good as other things that I think have been told in the comic book media, but I'm also comparing it to manga, where there's like kind of a big difference there. However, it was pretty good. It reminded me a lot of the pulp novels that I like to read, and I really enjoyed that. I think it's fun. Honestly, it would have been really interesting to see a Barbarella TV show, and maybe there was one. I don't remember, but I think that would be really cool to see. Maybe an animated show, maybe 12 episodes, kind of in the style of like Vox Machina or Invincible. But I don't know if Dynamite would be able to leverage that anywhere. But I think it would be really, really cool to see. And yeah, if it followed this type of storyline, I would have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, overall, the plotline was great. I really, really enjoyed it. In terms of characters, there's a lot of characters introduced and mentioned throughout the story, but not very many of them truly matter. I think the most important one is, of course, Barbarella, followed by Vix, followed by Talon, and then, of course, the main antagonist is Lady. And the revelation, the twist that comes with Lady is very, very interesting. I quite liked it. But again, I'm not going to mention it because I do think that with something this short, I should not do the usual spoiler talk that I do or to the same level, because then there really is no point in reading it, right? So, yeah, in terms of world building, there's quite a lot. We have generic kind of what I would like to call a Star Wars universe, where there's just a bunch of different types of crazy races of aliens that all interact with humans, that are all more or less humanoid, and that all of them can kind of like exist in family units with humans, but each of them also having interesting kind of non-human capabilities, right? We have dinosaurs, robots, lizard people, animals, space angels, space aliens, space alien animals, and all sorts of crazy stuff, and it's really, really good. There really isn't too much world building in terms of like where Barbarella comes from. She's supposed to just be a normal woman from Earth, but it doesn't really seem like it. Of course, it's also because she's probably a pulp hero type character who are basically superheroes without being a superhero. So it kind of makes sense. But I would have liked a little bit more of world building for Barbarella specifically. But I understand that since this is kind of a series, very many, you know, like iterations after the initial development of Barbarella, it's not really necessary. So I get it. In terms of artwork, I think it's gorgeous, and there is a little bit of spicy, risque fan service here and there, but it's pretty minimal because this is a 16 plus title, not an 18 plus title. Although honestly, for Barbarella, I do think that 18 plus would be the way to go. But of course, I don't think that any standard comic book company can really do that. And Dynamite isn't indie enough to be able to do stuff like this, like say Vault, right? So I think it would have probably been better if it was completely 18 plus and it had more, and you know, not safe for work elements, but the few little risque bits that it had were pretty enticing, right? So it works really well. And with the artwork, it's really well done. Like, honestly, Maddie Musabekov did a great job with it. So, yeah, in terms of a rating, this is a 4 out of 5. I think it's great. I'm definitely going to pick up the next series that comes out by Sarah Hoyt for Barbarella. I think it comes out sometime in March. And I think that there's a lot of titles that you can think are similar and that you can use as verifiers for whether you're going to like this series. If you like Money Shot, if you like Star Wars, if you like Eden Zero, or if you like, there's something else that I was thinking about. Stuff like Stargate and stuff like that, you'll probably enjoy this. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more risque than something like Stargate or maybe even Star Wars. But it's definitely going to be in line with something like Money Shot or Eden Zero. And honestly, maybe Money Shot, the comic book by Vault, and Eden Zero, the Japanese manga by Hiro Mashima, published by Kodansha in English, might be even more risque than Barbarella. So if you like these kind of world hopping, kind of like go to this planet to do something for a little bit and then go to another one and then have this kind of like action hero kind of story, you'll probably enjoy Barbarella quite a bit. So I definitely recommend it if you guys are interested in that type of stuff. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Barbarella. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And I do have a coffee if you guys are interested in supporting me financially, but no pressure to do so. It's just there in case anyone does want to. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching the video, and see you guys later.